Exactly.
Because we
And
don't have time for the little people.
dude, you're gonna be at the top of my list all the time.
Hi, Shayna.
Hi. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. Okay, we're recording, so I'm doing well. How are you?
Good.
Good, 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 good. Um, I guess I'm going to get started. I feel like some other people are going to come, but whatever. We can let them in. They can catch up. So the thing I want to say is last week we looked at what's in the 12 and 12, and as you are aware of, as you are aware, I'm not that thrilled with everything that's in the book. Essentially, if I were to summarize what's in um, step 6 in the 12 and 12, basically says, we make perfection a goal that we know we can never reach. And none of that stuff sort of makes any sense to me. And the reason I say that is because, when I went through the steps this time, it was very different. I don't know how much of this I've shared. Maybe it bears a little repeating, but because this was such a huge falling apart, this wasn't just letting go of one piece. It was letting go of like a big portion of my identity. And so in the going through the steps this time, it was such a defeat um that I had no power kind of over anything. I had no power to fight anything or to control anything. And so it was very much like the steps were doing me. So that's the spot you want to be in. You want to be in the spot where the steps are doing you. And so that's why all of this is so different, even though I feel like the intention of everything we're doing is the same. The sort of words we're using, the way we're approaching this is a bit different than you normally hear, right? So that's the value of me doing a step study, is the fact that there's something different here for those people who want it, for those people who want to take the steps and apply them this way. And I'm sure this is not for everybody. But so when it came to step 6, there was this it doing me, and sort of, I guess, if I were to sort of say it as honestly as I can, it was like the universe showing me this is how it wanted me to work the steps, which maybe doesn't mean this is how you should work the steps, but we're here talking about how I've been doing it and the positive effects that it's had on my life. See, I knew somebody else was coming. So Wendy missed my whole little spiel, which had the whole important notion for today. Wendy, I already said all the important stuff. You missed it. Sorry.
All right. Well, bye. I'll see you next week.
I'll try to summarize very quickly. The 12 and 12 says we aim for perfection and we accept that we can never get there, but we keep trying, which in my experience, that's not how this process showed me how to do it, if you will. And so what I saw was really kind of more of the same of what we've seen. Is in step 6, what we have are character defects, character defenses, which are just addictions in and of themselves, just not as big as the big addiction that brought us to our knees. But they are addictions nonetheless. And again, if we take that one phrase, that one model for that I use for all of recovery, choosing a lesser feeling to cover up, choosing a lesser pain to cover up a greater pain. So the key here is if we want the symptom, which is the character defect, to go away, we need to get, that's the smoke, we need to get down to the fire. We need to get down to what it is the character defense is covering up. What is it protecting? Right? So that's kind of all I wanted to say today is it's a different look. You're not going to find that in the 12 and 12, but I believe that it's very much in line with the intention of the step, which is how do you become entirely ready and entirely willing to have God remove this? you see why it's there. You see why you need it. And then once you see why you need it, you are down to the pain. And then when you get to the pain, then you don't need the character defect anymore. If I'm wearing a mask because everybody can see what I look like, if I take the mask off for 5 hours and everybody's seen what I look like, how hard am I going to try to keep holding up the mask? It's like they've all seen it. And it's like there's no mystery anymore. I'm going to have a lot less enthusiasm to hold a mask up in front of my face because my arm is going to get very tired. Okay, so let's look at your individual ones and see. And I guess the other thing I'll say as a preface is I'm a little bit surprised / delighted at the feedback I've gotten from this and sort of people saying, wow, this really kicked my butt and or wow, I really saw something that I didn't see before and wow, I've never heard it talked about in this way. So I'm glad that you guys are getting something out of it, you know, that seems worthwhile. But so now we just kind of, before we move on to step 7, and step 7, as far as I'm concerned, is the easiest step that there is, because if you've actually done your work in step 7, on step 6, which has become entirely ready, then all you have to do in step 7 is say the 7-step prayer, which is one of my favorite prayers from our program. Because if you're entirely, and what that means is I'm ready to, if a character defect is going to be removed, that means I'm ready to see what's underneath it, which means I'm ready to feel whatever pain I'm covering up. Right? So once you're ready, then it's very easy to take step 7. So let's look. Does anybody have any step 6 things that they're working on, questions where they need some clarity? Raj?
Yeah. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, good, fun.
Okay, good. Just the driving, sometimes if it hits a patch, I apologize.
No worries.
No, I just wanted to say that this is wonderfully helping, and it is brutal to see what's been underneath, what the fire has been about. One thing I'd love to do, if we could, is we tapped into playing small last time, and we were just touching the beginning of fantasy. I just would love to get a little clarity on fantasy as a character defense in my world.
Yeah, very good. I mean, well, fantasy is a pretty clear one because there's such an obvious drug state, right? When it comes, when we talk about the psychopharmacology of all of this, it wouldn't really make sense that, let's say, overspending or buying something on your credit card would be an addiction without this understanding that drugs are just triggering our own inner drugs, right? Our dopamine and all of those things. So fantasy is a drug addiction because it triggers these certain, I'm not sure what the exact chemicals are, so please forgive me, but these positive brain centers, right? When you get into fantasy, there's this high, there's this excitement, there's this, oh my gosh, it's going to be so great when. And of course, what you're doing is you are stepping on the present, you are ignoring the present, which is the only place that you can be happy. It's a great quote from Sam Harris, which is, the strange thing is you can never get happy. You can only be happy.
Oh, wow.
But everybody's spending their time trying to get happy. And I wrote a post that was similar today, but right, it's like you can't get something from the world that's going to change you. In other words, there's another sort of famous quote. I don't know who it's attributed to, but there's nothing in the world that can add to me. So when it comes to, and I'm just in a quote mood right now, but my favorite speaker, Anthony DeMello, he talks about when you're talking about spirituality, when you're talking about peace, it's only ever a process of subtraction. That's why the focus for me is on the blocks, is getting rid of the blocks to reveal the truth. not trying to
Oh,
not trying to add things to ourselves to make ourselves better. So the question for you, Raj, so it's very clear fantasy is a drug. The
yeah.
question for you is, what is that drug hiding? That's the real question.
Yeah. Um, you know, you and I have talked about a large part of my fantasy, well, is that I get to be in perfect control. I get to feel safe, well, fall safe. Um, and I get high. Like I get those dopamine hits, you know.
Right. Well, in terms of what you're avoiding, I would expect that it's kind of the stuff we talked about earlier today,
Yeah,
right? It's this just terror of not being safe,
right.
right? So you're imagining this world that is going your way and that is safe and it is good. Look at that cute doggy. Hold on for a second, Raj.
Sure, sure.
Let's just spotlight this for everybody. Look at that. What's that doggy's name? Oh, you're on mute. What's his name?
Monty.
Maki?
Monty. Monte.
Monty. Oh, the full Monty right here.
Yeah. Say hi, Monty.
Monty, we're trying to do some deep spiritual work here. Why are you stealing the show?
I've
What a
been
cutie.
seeing him all day, and I just had to give him some attention.
Okay.
Mwah.
Sounds
Sorry.
good. Okay. No, not at all. No, not at all. It's fine. Okay. All right. Back to Raj. In fact, Raj, here, let's give you the spotlight, Raj, and we'll talk about this together. Okay.
Okay.
And then, okay. One more second. Okay. So that's the thing. Is so I think there's value for this for all of you. I think there's value in feeling the drug addiction. Like we talked about in the fourth step, we got very much into feeling the faux power of the resentment. Like I have this anger that rushes in, and because I feel so powerless, I really love this anger because I feel powerful. But it's a fake power, right? It's not real power. Sitting around grumbling because somebody else did something is not real power.
Right,
Right.
right.
But it feels like real power. And so it's a fake, right? And fantasy is can you feel the sort of drug addiction to it? When you start to tap into it and feel it, you start to get very turned off by fantasy.
Yeah.
My wife it's like the only way my wife could experience happiness for the longest time was by looking forward to something, right? Which falls in the fantasy / hope category. It's not real happiness. In fact, just to give you guys a wider perspective of this, what most people call happiness, check this out. You guys are going to like this. What most people call happiness is not in fact happiness at all, but it's things are going well for me at the moment, and I have this projection that they're going to continue to go well for me. So let's say, like, here's a good example. I get married. This is such a positive event. And now what am I doing? I'm picturing this relationship and what it's going to look like for the next 20, 30, 40 years, right? So it's this positive projection in which I'm having a fantasy and I'm getting high. So hope and fantasy are kind of intertwined, right? Very similar, go along the same lines. And so the person's feeling good because they feel like, oh, finally, the universe isn't against me. Finally, it's going to start going my way. But it's a complete con job because, as we all know, everything you do in life, regardless of what it is, has ups and downs in it. Right? So there's no relationship you're going to get into that's going to feel good all the time. And there's no job that you're going to do that's going to just be wins. It's just not how life works. And so whatever you pick up is going to be a mixed bag. And that's also why it's ultimately not fulfilling, right? Because it doesn't stay good. It goes up and down. So I think there's a lot of value, Raj, in tuning into the frequency of fantasy and seeing, let's tune into it for a second, right? And let's just see what it's made of. So this is a character defense, right? It's a way that we protect ourselves. That is essentially not healthy, right? Every character defect is essentially a less than perfect way of dealing with something. So let's take food, for instance. Food can be, for some people, a gigantic character defect. And what it's saying is, I'm having really bad feelings, or I'm feeling horribly lonely. I'll eat some food. It's pretty obvious to see that food is never really going to heal loneliness. Everybody with me on that? So it's a poor substitute for a real working situation. And fantasy is the same way. Fantasy is a very poor substitute for real happiness or real fulfillment. So let's tune into this energy of fantasy. And tell me, Raj, tell me what some of the characteristics you're feeling from this fantasy. You're very aware of the good feelings, but tell me, what are some of the feelings that are under the surface that you don't see until you start to look under the hood?
Okay, and are you asking like what happens when I have the fantasy, or what's really like?
Yeah, no, what
maybe-
happens when you're having the fantasy? But we're looking for the part that's driving it, right? Your higher power is never lost in fantasy, or is never leading you to fantasy. So it
Oh,
has
wow.
to be part, right? It's a part. So remember what back in the day, I talked to you all about how you can tell the truth of something by looking at the energy underneath it. So you're looking at the positive, just like with the anger. Most people go, God, this feels kind of good. But when you look at the underneath of anger and a resentment, it's terrible. It feels terrible. So there's an underneath to the fantasy. There's things that you are feeling that aren't good, that are hidden. So let's see if we can start to uncover those.
Oh, wow. First of all, thank you for that clarity. That's huge. With the way you phrased it, is underneath it feels brutal. Actually, it feels like the yearning still, and it feels very sketchy and incomplete. Maybe not sketchy is not the right word, but like incomplete. Like I'm clawing at something.
Yes.
I need it's like I need to feel this. I need something to feel good, or to escape and to take me out of this.
Right. So it's a very strong need. So how happy is this part?
Not happy at all.
Not happy at all. But notice when you indulge in the fantasy, it feels good. It's just like eating a pint of ice cream. Tastes really good, but what's happening to you underneath the taste? It's like a couple hours later, you're going to be like,
Totally. Yeah.
Unless you haven't eaten in 3 days, in which your body, I'm sure, will metabolize that ice cream, no problem.
Sure.
Okay, so you see my best example is this, right? There's always the character defect generally feels good, but there's this really nasty 90% of it underneath, which is really dark and gross, right? So you scratch under the surface and you see. My best example is, so that's your sort of fake happiness. My fake self-esteem was feeling better than everybody else, right? Feeling superior, right? But you can see that underneath feeling superior are really horrible feelings. Feelings of worthlessness. Feelings I'm no good. So for you, you have this feeling of this high of like, oh, it's so great, but what's driving that? And what's the feeling underneath that high is covering up?
Yeah, it's terror, really.
It is. It's absolutely terror.
And I try to escape thinking these things will fix that terror, and save me, and make me feel safe.
Yeah, in fact, your whole life strategy is built kind of on this. I don't want to be with the terror, so I'm going to continually visualize a positive outcome. and live in the positive feeling of that so that I never have to touch the terror. Except the problem with that, as you've seen, is the terror is continuing to create circumstances in your life because it's there. It's just like the bomb we put in the basement. It's still leaking radiation everywhere. You can't put something in the basement like this and expect it not to have an impact. So you can't really win because there's this mountain of terror that is generating your life circumstances.
Yeah, and that was yes, perfectly said, dude. That's exactly what we even discovered, doing that deeper
Yeah.
dive.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Good. So, once again, you're being shown that you get to feel this terror, and that is the way out.
Okay. Beautiful. Really
Okay.
beautiful.
All right,
Thank
Doctor. You're welcome, Dr. Wendy.
I have a question about that.
Okay.
Because it certainly is one of my character defects too. I guess I've always called it magical thinking, but it's basically the same thing. Although I have to say, way less in the last couple of years. Like I've identified some of that.
Yeah.
But how do you discern between magical thinking and fantasy and sort of, I guess, like Mandy, excitement about something coming up? How do you choose something coming up that seems like, a thing you want to do without
Yeah.
that? And then the other part of that is the distinction between fantasy and visioning or planning, goal setting, like all that stuff. Like there is a future, is what I'm saying.
Well, no. There's not. There's an idea that there's a
Okay.
future.
Right, but we do make decisions. We do say,
Of
I'll go
course.
to the movies with you next week.
Look, of course.
And I
of
want to
course.
see this movie. I don't want to see that movie. I want to see this movie.
Look, there's two ways that we can look at the future. And to sit down and to make a plan is much more conscious than the way we normally do it. The way we normally do it is we fret about the future, right? We imagine, okay, Kate, you're after Wendy. I'm going to lower your hand so I can manipulate things here. I guess I can't. Right. So to sit down and plan for the future is being in the present. But when you're in your car and you can't stop obsessing about the future, you're not really planning. You're not being present to that. You're driving, right? And
Yeah.
this is coming up, right? So there's a very clear difference. So you can be very present to saying, okay, now I will spend time thinking about the future on purpose and with intent.
Right.
So that's probably the healthiest way to do that.
But it's also got something to do with looking forward to a thing, because I wouldn't choose that thing if it didn't seem like a thing I want to do.
Okay. I wasn't going to talk about this here, but I think we have to. I think I had a little video about this the other day. I don't know how many people saw it, but when you're talking about what you want to do and you're talking about decision making, I find it very helpful to separate the two decision making processes. Okay. So on the one hand, you have the ego and what it wants and what it doesn't want. And then and beneath that, lower in your body, more down in your gut, you have the soul or spirit and what it wants and what it doesn't want. Okay. So not to say this in a harsh way, but what the ego wants, we're generally not concerned with. Right? In other words, because and we've already done this in the steps, we've already committed to step 3. We've already said, I turn my will and my life over to my higher self, my highest good, which means that I no longer take direction from the ego. I go down here to discover what is true and the right path. Okay. So the thing that looks forward to something is always the ego. There is really no healthy version of looking forward to something. There are lesser degrees of it, right? But it's always like, oh, that's going to be so good. Now, let's take a vacation as a for instance. People generally look forward to vacation. Oh, I can't get away. I can't wait to get away. And they imagine the vacation that they're going to have, right? Which is not happening now. It's a little bit of a fantasy. And pretty much everybody knows, if you're honest with yourself, that vacations are very much a 50-50 deal. Half the time they suck and half the time they're amazing, right? But when you're picturing it, you're not picturing the half the times that suck. You're not being realistic about it, right? It's this, because and it's just like Raj's circumstance, there's a little bit of an escape there. Now, look, you can, just like an alcoholic, they can have a little drink, just take a little bit of the edge off, or the food addict can have just a little bit of ice cream to take the edge off, right? You can have a little bit of a fantasy to be like, okay. But that fantasy, if you look at it, is still this thing inside of you that is pining for a better future. And what that is symptomatic of is a part of you that is trapped in some sort of torture or misery. That's the thing that's one, I feel so bad. Oh my God, this vacation is going to be so great. And if you really start to look at it, you'll see that's what's happening. And with all things, there's a sort of greater or lesser degree of us doing that, and there's a certain level at which it's somewhat harmless and somewhat natural. The ego's going to do it. But more importantly is, do I notice it? Do I recognize it? Can I see it? It's okay for that part to pine, and as long as I realize that's not me, as long as I go, oh yeah, I can see that part. Of course, it wants to live in a world that's just perfectly beautiful all the time, and it wants to desire that. Of course it does, because it's trying to escape something horrible. Did I answer your question? Oh, anyway, since I brought it up, I just want to say, so when you're making a decision, when you're trying to decide between something, I find it very good practice to see, okay, so let's say I'm trying to decide whether I want to go to this party or not. The ego might be super excited about the party. It might be like going, yeah. So if you say that that's me, that I want to go, it's not really true. The ego or the part really wants to go. And when you say, okay, you picture for a second not going, the ego's deflated. It's like, but I was going to do this and I was going to see her and we were going to do all this thing. It was going to be so great. And it's depressed. Okay. But that's the ego. Okay. And then we tune into our bodies and now we try on going. And it's like, oh, okay. Actually what the soul and spirit wants is kind of a nice, quiet evening at home. And so it doesn't matter if I want it, the imposter that calls itself I in my body, I need to be able to differentiate between those. And so then I say, and then I try on going. And I guess my experience, I don't know if I haven't had a chance to compare this with a lot of people, but there's a bit of there's that line in the big book where it says, we recoil as if from a hot flame, right? That's my experience. When something really feels bad to my soul, it's like that. It's like that. It's like, if you've been sober for a long time and you picture taking a drink, your body kind of goes, that's kind of the experience I get when my soul says it's not right for me. It doesn't get depressed. It just says, this is chaos and you really want to stay away from this. Chaos is not good. Okay. That's as thoroughly as I can answer that question. Hopefully that helped. Hopefully I didn't crush the mechanism that really wants to look forward to things. Okay. Kate?
That's funny. And to add to that, I had a friend who invited me to go to Italy, and I totally played the tape and realized that it's probably not going to be that much fun. And why would I want to spend thousands of dollars to go sit on the beach in Italy right now when I can do it here? I don't know. I really didn't get caught up in the fantasy or the ego, and it felt really good. Yeah. And she invited me to go in September instead. And I was like, okay, it gives me time to think about it and process it and see if I can actually afford to go or not, and get a spending plan and a PRG and all the things that I'm going to need around it. It totally squashes the ego and the fantasy, the reality, but it feels
right. And
good.
so that's one aspect of it. Yeah. Which makes you a little more sober so that hopefully you can use that quietness, right, to tune into the part, the what's the right term? To the intuition right? To the
Yeah.
bodily sense and the awareness of, does this feel good? Does it not? Because the ego can also twist that and get us away from something that feels,
Right.
so,
Well,
but,
I wrote down discernment. That's the word that I wrote down, discernment. Like underneath what, like the ego and the soul spirit, I wrote discernment.
yes, good.
Anyway, what I wanted to say was procrastination, if we could like talk about that.
Oh,
for a second,
sure.
because that's a big one for me, procrastination. Like I am, ooh, the queen of procrastination. And like, what is under that, and is it like, I think it's sloth, mental laziness, but
Mhm.
I think underneath that is some sort of like self-sabotage or fear.
No, no. So this is good. I'm glad you're bringing this up. This one actually shouldn't be too hard.
Okay.
But the direction that you're going with all of that is 100% the wrong direction,
Okay.
right? So the first
Great.
one you said is sloth or mental laziness.
Uh-huh.
Sloth is just calling yourself a name, right? And they do a lot of that in the big book, right? That's so that they talk about character defect. And
Mhm.
again, it comes from this Christian guilt thing, that it's not. So again, with all of these things, there's truth underneath it. But the way that we take it in and the way that we perceive it, man, it gets messed up, right?
Mhm.
So we're inherently sinful. Like I talk all the time about how the body, it makes all these compromises and does all these things that ruins our happiness and takes us away from our true selves. That's the real meaning of that. But to say, but to say that I'm slothful, that's just mean-spirited. because
Mhm.
because there's a part underneath there, and that's why this part conversation is so important, that is in so much agony. That's why this is happening, not because you have actually any defects of character.
Right.
That's why that language is a little bit off, right? Because it comes from a very judgmental place. And
Right.
the only problem with that is compassion turns out to be the thing that's actually going to solve this and not judgment.
Yeah, because that's another one of my defects of character is judgment on self and others. So it's like kind
Right,
of
exactly,
like
right. So
tied
you
in.
somewhere you learned to be a little bit harsh with yourself, right?
Mhm.
It's a little bit name calling for yourself. But what we
Mhm.
need to understand is there's a reason why you're doing it. Like my dad, my whole life called me lazy, and I definitely got the impression that I was lazy.
Mhm.
But that wasn't really the case. It wasn't that I was lazy. I was unmotivated. Why was I unmotivated? A lot of it was because I felt so hopeless.
Mhm.
Get down to the
Yeah.
hopeless. Now I've got something that I can work with and I can heal, right? So let's see why you might be avoiding something. Can you give us an example of something you might avoid?
Sure. Like my step homework or a project for
But
work.
step homework is so fun, Kate. Come on. How could you possibly avoid that? Okay.
Or paying a bill, whatever it is. It's like I leave, like I had to renew my New Jersey real estate license and I waited till like, the last day, the last couple days to do it. And then I had to like, fly through it. And that's just, I've been doing that for my whole life. Like, am I getting better in that area? A little bit.
Well, yeah, and we're not really striving. So that's that old paradigm of step 6, where you're working on it, you're trying to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what I want you to do because you weren't here the week where I talked about my sort of know-it-allism, right? And how I worked
Right.
for 25 years,
Yeah.
and didn't make,
Uh-huh.
I made about 3% progress, right? It's
Yeah.
a fool's errand, right? But when I saw what was underneath it, was I was afraid to let people around me fall apart because I was afraid I would fall into the abyss behind them.
Mhm.
I understood why I did that. And I was able to be with my fear, and I was now able to let them fall apart. And I didn't need to try to fix them or save them, which they resented anyway. Right.
Right.
So like I leave you guys all free to completely fall apart. In fact, now what I've done is I've gone the other way, and now I encourage everybody to fall apart, right? That's
Right.
in the bottom. So but that was what changed in me, is I saw why it was really there. I didn't judging myself for it and trying to fix it and change it doesn't, you're not going to solve it because you're trying to solve the problem from the level of the problem. You're trying to use the ego to solve the ego. Not going to
Uh-huh.
work. So we need to come from a higher plane. Okay, so let's take doing the step work. So what's the feeling? So when you picture yourself doing the step work, right? It gives you kind of a bad feeling. When you picture it, it feels like, ooh, it's going to be a little bit of drudgery, or it's going to bring up this feeling. What's the feeling you get that's so objectionable?
The feeling I get is like this superiority. Like I already did the steps. Like I've done the steps like 6 times. Like,
Oh, okay.
or like being in SLAA and doing the step work there like 3 or 4 times makes me think like I'm better than everybody else. Because
Got
I
it.
feel like most people didn't even touch the surface yet. So I have this like superiority thing, like,
That's interesting.
uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
that's a different form of procrastination. Right. So really it's like you're avoiding it. Well, I mean, so what we want to find out is what feelings are you avoiding, right? So you're avoiding it by going, I've already done it. I've already arrived.
I'm
But
healed. Yeah, like
yeah,
I'm healed.
the problem with that is the only reason to think that, as we discussed earlier, to think I'm better than everybody else is because you feel worse than everybody else.
Right, which I find crazy because I don't feel worse than everybody
Oh,
else.
come on. Sure you do.
I don't think I do.
Well, but so again, let's separate out parts.
Okay.
If you look at yourself as one person, then you can't afford to say, well, I'm like this or I'm like that, because then I'm
Right.
stuck with it. But if you have parts that do that, then it's not a problem because everybody has those parts.
Mm-hmm.
But
So would the parts be like, because a part can't be laziness, but it can be unmotivated?
a part can't be laziness because what makes up a part? A
A
part is a
feeling.
phrase and a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So laziness is the avoidance of something. We're more
Mm-hmm.
concerned about what you're avoiding.
Right.
So you see, we're having all this conversation, but we still haven't found out what it is that you're so terrified to touch, because it seems like it's under this glossiness of I'm better than everybody else, which feels very light and feels
Mm-hmm.
like it's like this diffusion. It just diffuses the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're very suspicious of that because
Mm-hmm.
we know you're avoiding it for some reason, but the reason's not clear. So that's what we need to do is we need to get down to the reason. And so almost for sure, you're scared of touching those feelings. So let's say we're talking about step work. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So can you access a part of you that is afraid of opening up feelings that are going to, potentially harm you, maybe even destroy you?
Wait, repeat the question. Can I open up feelings
Can
that
you can
might
you see
potentially?
can you see that there's a part of you that is afraid of opening up to feelings that might potentially harm you or kill you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I still feel like as much love and self-care and self-love and that I've gotten to this relationship with a higher power, there's still like this like armored heart around my heart.
Right.
Like
Right. Exactly.
I shed off a lot of layers, like it was like, miles long. And now it's maybe like, it's that last 5 pounds that you need to lose when you're on a diet, which is the hardest to do. That's
Well,
how I feel like.
we'll see. We'll see. I mean, listen, it's one of the symptoms of being in recovery in which you always think you're almost there. You know what I mean? And it's like, this is the last piece
Yeah.
that I'm kind of solved. Right.
Yeah.
But the reality is these layers.
But I just feel like, yeah, I don't want to, I guess, just really open up completely.
Because why? What's going to happen?
Yeah, because like you said, I might like fall apart or.
Yeah, there's a part of you. Now, again, it's not you, right? So let's be clear about that.
It's
A
the
part
part.
of you, a part a part is terrified of you opening up those doors. And so it's easier to say, well, I've already done it and I'm better than all these other people. I don't need to do it.
Mhm.
But really, you're terrified.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Of
that's
feeling the feeling.
of feeling the feelings. Yeah, exactly. So everything here is designed for you not to feel these feelings. So let's touch these feelings a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this fear of, maybe it's fear of opening up Pandora's box a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's kind of doing okay and I'm doing pretty good. Why do I want to go digging around in the graveyard?
Right.
Potentially exposing, a poltergeist that can come in and destroy my life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, like I just don't want to really look at it
Right.
because I'm just coasting along and everything seems
A part doesn't want to look at it.
right. Okay.
Right? A part is trying to avoid this feeling. But so I want you to go into that feeling and feel that terror. So where can you experience that terror in your body? Where is that energy happening?
Oh, it's in my chest.
Yes, perfect. And what does it feel like?
Like tight.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So breathe into that. Does it feel anything else? Is there any kind of like electricity, or is there any kind of pressure or weight or heat?
Sort of like it's moving up to my throat.
Okay.
like a closing sort of.
Yeah, right. Closing off, right? So
Yeah.
now we're starting to get down to reality. So you
Uh,
see why this is so helpful to have this conversation of parts?
uh-huh.
Because it's just a part that's afraid. It's not the whole of you, right? You've done a lot of
Mhm.
work and you have this recovery. And so you have that aspect of you. And you haven't lost any of that because you still have parts that are so terrified.
Mm.
So now you can use that higher wisdom part of you to actually start to now help this part. Instead of pretending that you're all done, you can
Mhm.
help this part that's still, there's still some babies here in the fire. It's like,
Right.
go back in for them. You can't just leave them. You can't just be standing outside going, no, I'm good. It's like there's little kids burning up in the house, right?
Right.
So let's just touch this
Mm.
terror. So now, just kind of for the moment, just picture this as like a little version of you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what is she so afraid of?
Well, maybe it's the success or this idea of like if I open the door,
That's
there's
in your
a
mind, right? You're going to your mind to figure it out. I want you to go into her
well,
terror.
like there's always more work to do. Like I feel like it's maybe a little bit of exhaustion.
Okay. Right. Is it
That
kind
is.
of the fear of this is never going to end? This is just going to go on forever, and the weight of all this work is going to crush me and kill me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
Okay.
a heaviness, like a heaviness.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So you fear this heaviness.
Yeah.
Okay. You see how we're getting down to something real here? We're getting down to
Yeah.
something that has a lot of weight to it. Do you feel how much energy is trapped in this fear of this heaviness?
Mm-hmm.
This is all your vital life energy that's being, sort of sucked
Because what
by a
happens is
vampire.
it makes me the more and more I put it off, then the more and more like I'm slightly obsessed about it, and then I slip into the anxiety, and then it
Right,
just
because
takes
look,
over.
there's this huge black pit of tar in your stomach. It's like you can't really ignore it. Your
Right.
parts are trying to ignore it. Okay,
Yes.
here, follow me here with this. Okay, but none of this is about your step work. Okay,
Right. Yes.
this
Agreed.
is how you felt as a child. This huge black pit, this huge
Mhm.
darkness. So where in your childhood was this darkness that you were afraid was going to swallow you whole? Was it your father? Was it your
I
father
mean, I
drinking?
feel like maybe I don't know, like Sundays were always hard for me. Like I never wanted to look at Monday. Like I didn't want the weekend to be over. I didn't want to have to go back to school. Sundays were
Aha.
like
Okay, are you seeing this? Are you seeing that? You seeing the corollary here? There's
uh
this, like the drudgery, the drudgery of the work is going to crush my spirit and take away all my fun,
yeah.
destroy my life. So
Yes.
now you can start to see why you're avoiding doing these things, because it's like signing up for death. It's like, yes, I voluntarily signed up to have my spirit crushed.
Right.
right? So you have a little girl who's afraid of the work or the heaviness, and we still don't exactly know what all that heaviness is. At a young age, it became, okay, I don't want Monday, I don't want school, I don't want that. But there's that
Mhm.
heaviness comes from somewhere even before that,
Mhm.
right? So
And
that's
I
some
think
work
it's
for
like
you to
the
do.
abandonment. There's like some kind of abandonment there, like,
Yes.
with parents working and not
There you
being
go. There you go.
available.
Right.
Um,
So on the weekend they're available, but then they go back
oh
to
yeah,
work, right? They go
yeah.
back to work and now you're all alone. So the real fear you have is this fear of if you go do the thing you're supposed to do, you're losing love. See, so
Mm,
much of it's about love. You're like, there's no love here. You have to go to the
mhm,
loveless place to do that. And that is terrifying to your spirit. Are you
mm,
starting to get a picture now why you avoid things?
yeah,
Do you see how different that picture is from you're a little bit slothful?
yeah, very much. It's
Do you see
very
how
different.
do you see how that
It's
doesn't answer
very
anything?
different.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
doesn't help.
No, because I just wanted to label it instead of like go underneath it and really like,
Right, because we none of us wants to feel. And the only reason we do is because we have to, because you start to yearn for peace. And the
mhm,
only way to actually have peace is to go through the pain. And
mhm,
however long it takes each of us to learn this in of our lives is how long it takes. And then the more
yeah,
you do it, the more you're like, okay, I'm more than willing to accept this pain and walk through it because I know my real joy is underneath it.
yeah.
Not
Wow.
as a someday, not as a someday, but my heart and my spirit and my soul are being revealed at every moment that I do this.
And I want to share with you that I meet my one-on-one DA sponsor every Wednesday morning at 7:30 to 8:30
Mhm.
a.m. And I'm already done my homework.
Good.
And I did more than what I was supposed to do. There was 11 questions to be answered, and she said, "How many do you want to do?" And I said, "I'll do 6." And last night, instead of watching television, I just felt called to do the set work, and I answered all 11.
There you go. And you see how in this instance, you got called to do it,
I
right?
did.
You
I
weren't
got
forcing
called to.
yourself and labeling yourself and beating yourself up and saying you have to do it.
It just came naturally to me, and I feel like that's where the growth is. And like, even though I struggle with procrastination, and I use like step work as an example, like I am in contrary action right now.
That's good. And you're
Mhm.
not struggling with procrastination. Procrastination is the symptom
Hard. Yes,
of
I like
of
that. Yeah.
I don't want to feel this incredibly heavy oppressiveness of having to do the work and losing love because I'm going to be left all alone.
But I feel like I love myself and loved because I did my homework already, and it freed me up to be
Yeah, that's
present for
good.
you for tonight. And I have a call after this, and like I don't have to worry about doing my homework because it's already done. And it was like it was just a form of self-love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to continue that self-love and to continue to really love yourself, you have to pay attention to that little girl who's so
Mhm.
terrified of being left alone and losing love, right? Because
Yeah.
she's there, right? So
Yeah.
if you want to continue that self-love, that's where it is. And as you do that, you will find yourself avoiding things less and less
I
because
like that.
she's not
Yeah.
going to lose your love by doing the thing because you're going to be
Mhm.
continually giving her the love.
Right. And the support of my sponsor is also like loving and kind. Like,
Right.
you
You're
know,
more loving energy and kindness to you. Okay.
Mhm.
Very good. Okay. We have
Thank you.
very welcome.
Thank
We have
you.
time for one more.
Mhm.
Who wants to open their spirit and work on getting ready to let go of something? Who wants to let go of something? Let's ask it that way. Who's sick and tired of being sick and tired? Oh no.
I had a quick question, but I want someone else to go
Yeah, we should have
but
somebody
that's
else go, but what's your question?
well, it was just a little more clarity on the vision versus fantasy, where I know when I've done it, or you and I have chatted, if there's a charge to the vision, it's probably fantasy, at least for me.
Yep.
And if it's obsessive and kind of gripping than it, but versus having a vision is cool. And I mean, it's not, and then surrendering that to God and letting it work.
Yeah, a vision should feel light, not if I don't get it, I'm miserable. That's not a vision, that's a curse.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Because in that regard, I will have like a happy expectation of something I like to do, but it's not a gripping one thing.
Yeah, that's kind of, I made a video a little while back. I don't know how many of you saw it, but it was like up-leveling your addictions to preferences. If you have to have it, it's an addiction. If you can take it or leave it, it's a preference. So if your vision is a preference, like, look, here's a very healthy way. Um, let's see. So what's a healthy thing? It's like, oh, okay. I am going to be happy if I become a filmmaker, and then I will also be equally happy if I don't. That's healthy. I don't need a certain thing to happen in order for me to be healthy or happy. But I can still move towards something, you know? I can accept, like, look, I can accept that I can live in Connecticut, or I can live in Malibu, you know, or I can live in Hawaii. And each of these places that I live, I had the expectation that I'll be equally happy in all of these places. But I still am going to choose one. And I'm going to choose it because it feels the easiest to me, or it has the less trade-offs. But there's no reason why, I have to live in Connecticut and I can't live in Hawaii, that I need to be upset about that. Right? So it's a preference. I prefer Maui to Connecticut, let's say. Not that I do, but no knock on Connecticut. Okay. All right. We're running out of time. Is anybody going to go? Or are we going to end early? I need a nap, so it's fine by me. But
I can go.
Okay.
Putting this into what is the defect is I'm not sure. So what it is keeping myself small, which I think is my addiction, and almost every part that is down in there contributes to wanting to keep me small and safe. But one of the things I know is underneath that is not wanting to outshine my mother.
Okay, good. And why is that painful to you, the idea of outshining your mother?
You know, as much as she was difficult and harsh and unfair, I also felt really sorry for her because she was so miserable, so clearly unhappy. And I had the impression that outshining her would make it worse for her. And not just I mean, there was definitely some, indications that
Okay.
that there was a jealousy thing going on with her.
Got it. Okay. And so there's also a lot of guilt for you here, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's explore this guilt, because I think this guilt is kind of the key to this for you.
So maybe that is the defect. Yes.
I think so. Well, so, sometimes I encourage people, like, wanting to stay small or something is kind of big in general. Sometimes it's helpful if you can name some of the ways that you stay small. Like, I don't go to parties. I avoid parties. You see what I'm saying? Or I don't market or whatever.
Yeah.
These are ways that you stay small, that each one is kind of its own character defense. But okay, so this guilt, let's tune into this guilt. So where in your body do you feel this guilt?
I guess all through here, all through my neck and the top of my chest.
Right, which would make sense, right? That's very much expression.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like you probably it felt like, I mean, you're talking about here how you keep yourself small. You can't really express yourself, right? Because there's this fear/guilt of how terrible of you to outshine your mother.
Yeah. Not to mention that it would get shot down, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so let's tune into this energy. This energy feels pretty heavy and pretty dark. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It feels very weighty to me.
And also just ridiculously, I was encouraged to do those things that she thought were great. You know, writing or being in shows, you know,
Yeah, so you've got very mixed messages,
yeah.
right? But so let's explore this guilt, because what I feel here is this really strong, you're so terrible for wanting to outshine her.
Yeah,
Like you're bad and you're evil.
yeah.
Okay, so okay, we're right down there to it. Now, can you see where why you don't want to feel this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is terrible.
Yeah.
We were talking about black tar earlier. This is definitely black tar. This is
Well, I have systematically kept the things that I want to do away from myself in one way or another. Yes.
right. But right now, and it's really important that we really focus in on the pain,
Mhm.
right? The pain is the solution in all of this. Can you see that the reason to stay small is because then you don't have to risk outshining your mother. Therefore, you don't have to feel this guilt.
Yeah.
So for you to be successful, Wendy, you are going to have to walk through this.
Mhm.
No version of you moving toward expressing your gifts in the world where you don't have to walk through this torturous kind of pain of this guilt,
Right.
right? And so if you were to take step 7 now, you know, for my creator, no, how does it go? How does it start?
It goes, oh shoot, I thought that was it. I don't
Oh,
have,
my creator, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you remove, is that right? Every character defect that stands in the way of my usefulness to others.
Yeah, remove everything that stands in the way.
Okay, great. Okay, so if you were to take that now, what that would mean is you've seen this and you've become entirely ready to walk entirely through this pain. That's what it means to get ready. So we've done this work for the last couple of weeks on step 6, right?
Mhm.
Get ready means I'm willing to take this journey. And then step 7, we say, okay, God, go ahead. You know, I allow you to walk me through this pain and this suffering to get to the other side.
Yeah, I think there's also an aspect of higher power, you know, you take care of her soul now. I let go of that.
Absolutely.
I let go
100%.
of that responsibility. She's not alive anymore, but I trust in you to help find her find peace.
100%. And I'm really starting to become convinced that when people are not fulfilling their potential,
Mhm.
that it has everything to do with not outshining their parents, to being loyal to their parents,
Mm.
their parents' view of them.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not only her own lack of success, because she made herself very small, and it was our fault because she had to stay home with us, you know.
Oh, perfect. Yes, the blame the kids. Why I
Yeah.
have to fulfill my
And my
potential.
father didn't want her to work. He wanted her to stay home and take care of the kids, or so she said, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, classic cop out. You know, again, because people do what they want to do. And it's not because of somebody else, or, you know, it's like if she really wanted to keep doing that, she's probably afraid of doing it, afraid she couldn't be successful, et cetera. And she's passed all this down to you.
Yeah.
So you have this intense loyalty to your mother. And also, too, what's in there is you love her. Despite all the not good feelings you have about her, underneath it is this kernel of love. And there's this little girl who is just fighting to remain loyal to your mother till the end of time. Just like, no, I can't do that to my mother. Right. And so that pain, so you will find that if you walk through that pain, and you can see why you don't want to walk through it, but if you walk through that pain, then you will not, you will not feel the need to stay small. You will say, oh, I can express myself because this is what's having you not express yourself. This fear of punishment / guilt of being a terrible person because you're expressing yourself.
Yeah, I don't want to I don't want to make us go late, and this has been great, really great. I just wanted to say this is so nuts. On her deathbed, okay, because I was the one, ironically, who was there. I told her, and she was no longer really
Lucid.
conscious.
Yeah.
I told her, I will make sure your unfinished manuscript gets put together and published. And my sister-in-law said, "What? Are you serious?" Like, it's a jumble. It's still in storage somewhere. It's a jumble that she pawed through in her last it's
Yeah.
and I wasn't crazy about her writing. Anyway, that's insane. That's insane. And I haven't and that's at that would be at the detriment of my own writing. Okay. Just had to share that.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Okay. Good work, everybody. Thank you. So are you starting to see kind of what this really means and what it really takes to let go of these kind of things? And I would say, look, give yourself some slack, right? Because step 6 is kind of the step 1 of the character defects, if you think about it. It's like, okay, I see that I'm powerless over this. Understand that if this is too big, right, to just handle in a step 6 kind of fashion, you can always just take this back to step 1 and just kind of like work the whole process on it. If it's that big a block, because I don't really deal anymore in terms of step 6 or step 1. It's all the same thing to me. And it's really just, how big is this one? You know, how long is this block going to take to walk through? Some blocks come through in a month. Now I'm really working, you know, with this shame. Like, so getting rid of sort of self-hatred took about 3.5 months. Right. It's fairly intensive. I'm working with shame. I think shame's going to take quite a bit longer than that. The longest I think I've had is like 4.5 months in the last 5 years. But I think shame, it looks like shame is going to take longer, right? To just be with that energy. I feel like it's so dug in, you know, but we just continue to show up for these parts of us that are so horribly wounded. Like you see Kate's part, you know, she's so dreading losing that love and being stuck in that drudgery, you know, and Wendy, you know, the guilt of, I can't do that to my mom. You know, these are very painful things, you know. And Raj, the fear, you know, that terror of, I'm not going to have enough love. You know, I'm gonna, you know, these are very intense things. And so again, this is why we don't work on the character defects directly and try to get better and improve at them, because that's how the ego can waste 20 years and nothing has changed because we haven't dealt with the real problem. Here, we're always trying to bring God and our compassion and our deeper selves into the real problem, because that's what makes a difference. You know, and if I could just share one thing, Raj, from our work that we did this morning, you know, and we all did this kind of work together in the 4th step, but we got to see again, once you got down to that terror, what happened to the resentment? When you really felt that terror.
Oh, it went away.
Yeah. When you, and that's a signal and a sign that you've really gotten down to the thing, right? Like, let's say if you got a sore back and I'm over here massaging, doing whatever, but then I go, oh, here's a pinched nerve, and all of a sudden the back is released. You go, oh, I found the thing. I found the thing that's causing it. That's the same kind of thing. When you touch it and the symptom disappears, you know you've hit the right thing. You know that you know, resentment is just a protection mechanism for this terror. And the fantasy is as well. Right? Okay. All right. Good work, everybody. So wait, so next week, are we done with step 6? Do you guys feel like you have enough information on step 6, or could you use some more, one more week of this? I'm sorry?
Good. I'm good.
You guys are good?
I feel like I'm okay. I don't know about anybody else, but of course I
You
do.
don't have to speak, you don't have to
I
speak, right, of
feel-
course.
Let's,
I don't know who wants to do that work
I'll do
anyway.
let's keep going.
Okay, so Kate, of course, gets a vote, but we can't trust her vote. So, okay. What about
I
the
have
rest
2
of
more.
you?
I wouldn't mind going one more week because I have 2 more that I'd love to, like, kind of how you did the energy behind them.
I kind of feel like we should do one more week anyway, just because I feel like just to practice it more, because let's be real with each other, shall we? If we don't talk about this anymore, it's like the 6th step could just go out the window.
Yeah.
And I like
You're
how
right.
you were able to, I like how you were able to, with everybody's, for me, SIP 6 and 7 have changed my life in other programs, and especially the way we're doing it, Evan, and all of us. There's like a couple more. I'd love to see what that the feelings are underneath, because that's I've done them for years. I write it, pray, and it's fine. It's good. But the way we're doing it, it feels like it's really gutting.
Okay, but Cheryl and Shayna, we're going to want to hear from you guys next week. I don't
That's
want
right.
I
That's
don't
right,
want any of this
guys.
calling in sick stuff either. not feeling, not feeling well. I can't do my step 6. Okay. See you guys next week.
Okay, cool.
Thanks, Evan. Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye.